Welcome to the Wellness on Tap podcast with your host, Dr. Debs Eastwood.
Doing this whole series of a group of us talking about what we do in our main jobs, with the caveat being, what would you like to have learned, in my case, when you studied medicine? Which was really interesting because I made a little joke and I actually put it in on the end of my slides because I'm kind of half serious about it. What would I have liked to have learned of medicine? All of this. All the homeopathy, the herbalism, the thermography, the osteopathy with tuning forks, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have just blown my mind.
All the stuff that they don't teach you in traditional, conventional medicine, I guess.
Yeah. And I believe everything has its place.
Yeah.
And I'm quite unusual in a medic who wants to embrace the alternative, complementary, whatever name you want to give it.
Yeah.
It wants to embrace all of that because I see there's a place for both, which is why when we met, I was like, wow, I have to have this lady on my podcast because her story is just going to blow my audience's mind. And it's also going to really help me say to my medical colleagues, I'm not saying that this happens in every single case, but here we go. Here's an actual real life person that has done something different than what society dictates.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite strange because when I think back to the beginning, I had no idea about any of this stuff.
Interesting.
Nothing at all. There are lots of people that are so spiritual and I think they've just intuitively known, but that wasn't me. That wasn't me at all.
So when did this journey start for you?
So I would say about 4 years ago. So about 5 years ago, in April 2020, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then in November 21, so what's that, nearly 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with metastasis of the breast cancer in the brain, so brain tumour.
Okay.
And the prognosis on paper, not very good.
So did you do anything traditional medicine-wise with your initial diagnosis?
Yes, I did. So when I was diagnosed, I had all the, conventional treatment. I had chemotherapy, surgery, radiotherapy, targeted therapy, and it was all successful. Or so we thought.
Yeah. And traumatic to go through.
It was, yeah. And also it was just at the time of lockdown. So I was diagnosed in April 2020. We locked down in March 2020. So although at the time doing it on my own was, I'm quite a insular kind of person. I guess doing stuff on my own doesn't really bother me. But I think it would have been helpful to have somebody to be there with me to do it.
Because that's next level, isn't it? I mean, for the majority of the population that were forced to stay at home during lockdown, that was just living your lives at home, not coping with a significant diagnosis.
I mean, although it gave me something else to focus on instead of COVID.
There
a lot
of
people were very worried about COVID. I was not worried about COVID at all. I was worried about something else.
Interesting, I like that.
I did, my sister, she came with me to some appointments, which was really good. So I didn't do it all on my own, but you weren't allowed people to come with you, to sit with you when you're having chemo and stuff like that. So I guess it was quite a different experience, but then an experience I'd never had before. So I don't know what is the norm in that
True.
case.
Yes.
But I do remember when when I was first diagnosed and I was talking to my oncologist, who is amazing, and then somebody said to me in the hospital about people that don't take the treatment. And I just thought, why wouldn't you take this treatment? I don't quite understand why people wouldn't take chemotherapy, wouldn't take what I thought at that point was like life-saving treatment. It was like a passing comment that's obviously stuck with me.
Yes.
So I went through all the traditional treatment, and every time I had chemotherapy, I mean, obviously it made me feel really bad. I lost all my hair. And I came out of the hospital with a goodie bag of medication. So they would say to me, like, take this because the chemotherapy might give you diarrhea. Take this because taking that might give you constipation. Take this to line your stomach for the steroids that you have to take. So it was like endless amounts of medication, most of which I didn't take because it didn't feel like, I mean, I didn't need it and I didn't feel like I wanted to have it. I was putting enough rubbish in my body with the chemo without adding to it. So anyway, I did all of that, and I did all the conventional treatment and got better also, so I thought. And then in November 21,
about 18 months later.
Yeah, about 18 months later. And 18 months, actually, maybe we'll come back to that because that's quite key.
Oh, okay.
I was diagnosed with the brain tumour after suffering with some dizziness and stuff like that. And then had stereotactic radiotherapy on my brain, which had some horrible permanent side effects.
Ooh.
So I was being sick for about 3 months after the treatment. And cognitively, I'm not the same as I was.
Right.
The right side of my body, so I find writing really tricky, typing is hard. So the right side of my body doesn't work quite the same as it did. And my speech is not as it was. So, I mean, you probably can't notice, but I notice.
Of course, yeah, because you knew what you were like before.
Yeah, exactly.
I've only ever met you since.
Yes,
so
exactly. So I had that treatment, and the brain tumour, they always said to me, because I had 3 monthly scans and still have been having 3 monthly scans until quite recently, but they always said to me, we can't see the brain tumour, there's some scar tissue, but, you know, we think it's gone. So, you know, that was quite good, I think.
Yeah. Doesn't sound entirely convincing, though.
No, it wasn't. And 18 months later, again, I had a recurrence of the same brain tumour. And then they offered me the same treatment. And by this time, I had been... So when I was diagnosed with the brain tumour the first time, I'd been looking into alternatives. And that was when I started my journey of alternative treatment, if you like. And I was very concerned about, you know, having more radiotherapy on my brain, because radiotherapy is just, you know, radiation. It's not good for you. And I knew the side effects that I had before, and I didn't want a recurrence of, you know, that kind of feeling that bad. Yeah. And I knew that the right-sided symptoms would get worse, the cognitive ability would worsen. So it took me a while to decide what to do. And I remember people saying to me, you know, cancer has this kind of urgency about it. The oncologist was saying, you know, have your treatment. We don't want this tumour to get any bigger. Yeah. And I just wanted to just process it and think about it and decide whether I wanted the treatment. And for a long time, I say a long time, it wasn't a long time, it was like for a few days, I was thinking I didn't want the treatment. And then my sister, I've got two sisters, so my younger sister said to me, why don't you go and have go and see your your yoga teacher, go and have a one-to-one session with her, have some sound therapy with her. And so I did, and I was hoping for an epiphany, and that didn't happen. But the next day, I thought to myself, do you know what? Maybe I can have this treatment, but there are certain things that I need in order to recover from it. Mm-hmm. And so I said to my ex-husband, okay, I'll take the treatment, because he was giving me a lot of pressure to do it, telling me how selfish I was being if I wasn't going to have it, talking to my family, getting them to encourage me to do it. And so the pressure was coming from all directions. But I still wanted
so it. Difficult.
It was hard. It was really hard, because my ex-husband was saying to me, you're going to die if you don't have this. You're going to leave our children without a mother. How can you be so selfish? And I was thinking, okay, so I had this sound bath. I went to see my yoga teacher. I didn't have an epiphany, but the next day I said to my ex-husband, I said, okay, I'll do it, but I need the time to recover properly, because last time I didn't have it. And I gave him a few, if I do this, this is what I need you to do to help me to recover. And it wasn't really big things. It was things like take the kids away, give me some time to just go to bed if I need to.
Basic looking after yourself kind of stuff.
Yeah. Not big things. And I didn't realise at the time how fundamental that was going to be, because he wasn't able to deliver those things. And because he wasn't able to deliver them, that made me decide that actually there were many things, but that was like the straw that broke the camel's back of why I needed to leave him. Mm-hmm. And when I look back now, I know that it was the environment that I was living in, that was why I was so unwell. And that 18-month cycle, which I've now broken.
Yay, good.
Yes. But the 18-month cycle started, so I got married. 18 months later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. 18 months later, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour. 18 months later, a recurrence of the brain tumour. And now that was nearly 2 years ago. Excellent. So I've broken the 18-month cycle.
That felt amazing.
Oh my gosh, really did. I think I've done so much. I've done the things that are really hard. And now I'm free and I'm healthy. I'm cancer-free. I'm living my best life. I'm not the same as I was before cancer, but do you know what? That's okay. Because I thought for a long time, I thought healing was about being better. But actually, I think healing is not necessarily about being better physically. It's about accepting where you are and accepting that cognitively, I'm not the same as I was. And I've gone through a lot of things that have made me different, but that's okay. And now I really want, the reason why I'm here is I really want other people to know about that, because I didn't know about that. And I feel like I've gone through, my journey has been a lot, and it's been big and it's been difficult. And I've had amazing friends and family around me that have made it so much better and so much easier. But if I can make it better or easier for even just one person, if they can listen to this and think, oh my gosh, I'm in a toxic relationship, or oh my gosh, I need to change this in order to be better, then my job is done.
beautiful heart you have, Lisa. I feel quite emotional. Wow. And I massively hope that it impacts many, many, many more than just one, because your story is phenomenal.
I hope so. The fact that you just said you're quite emotional, it really touches me, because I think I'm not emotional and I would love to be more emotional. And I think I've suppressed my emotions for so many years. And that is the reason that I didn't realise the relationship that I was in was so damaging. Because all of those feelings, I just thought, you know, they don't count, or I've been so used to just ignoring them. And so now I try, and oh my gosh, I really try to be like, to feel emotion. And I really try to get my children. So I've got a 14, nearly 15-year-old son and 6-year-old twins. And I really try to get them to feel their emotions, because I want to teach them. I don't want them to be like me. I want them to learn how to feel their emotions. Yeah. And so talking, and it doesn't come naturally for me because I've been so used to suppressing, but talking to them about the way they feel and getting them to feel it in their body, that's what I want them to do. So every opportunity, I'll talk to them about how they're feeling, where they're feeling it. And, you know, I talk like I'm an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm just trying.
As all parents do.
Yeah.
I just feel that your time will come where you feel the emotions for yourself.
I hope so.
My personal insight, and that's all it is, it's a personal opinion, is that you've just broken that 18-month cycle. That is huge. And it's going to take a while longer before things move. Maybe that's what your next 18-month cycle is.
Maybe.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah. I think you're right, though, because actually I've been suppressing for so many years. It will take probably that length of time to stop suppressing. But I'm aware of it now, which I think is a big thing, because I wasn't even aware of it.
No.
4 years ago, I had no clue.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, I say 7 years ago, I drew a line in the sand and said no more toxic relationships for me. And I still live by that. And now I can use language to describe where I was at that I didn't have at the time. I had no concept that I was drawing that line in the sand. I used the move of house. That was what it was. It was a physical thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a emotionally, right, I'm not doing that again. It was like, right, let's just not have any more relationships at the moment. Let's focus on doing the house. It literally was as cold as that.
Yeah.
I'm a completely different person. Still on the journey, but I feel different. I look different. I behave different. And all of those differences are actually me finally being able to express who I am.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't back then, but I didn't know that I couldn't. I didn't know that I was people pleasing. I didn't have the language.
Yeah.
And I was living through others, whether that be my children or the relationships. I know, I use the example, people who are regular listeners to the podcast will have heard me say this before, that when I moved into the new place and was buying some bits of new furniture that we needed, because I left a load of stuff in the house for this young couple that were moving in that had nothing, that, you know, had been perfectly functional and great, but wasn't my style.
Yeah.
And people that had known me for 35, 40 years were coming into my house saying, Debs, I didn't know you liked that. And I was like, no, neither did I. So your time, that's where I'm coming from when I'm saying your time will come.
You saying that, that's really interesting, actually, because for a long time, I thought I feel like I don't really know myself. And oh gosh, I feel quite emotional. I'm just going to let it happen. Yeah,
we've done it. That is beautiful.
But I feel like I don't really know myself because, and maybe it's because I've just been not allowing myself.
Oh, comparables.
Not allowing myself to feel the way, feel anything. And I think, how can people want to be with me when I don't, like, I'm talking like friends. How can I be a friend when I don't even know, like I don't even know myself?
You're on the journey.
Yeah.
I think started.
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful thing. Can I take you back a little way then to the time where, because you said right at the beginning, when you were having your breast cancer treatment, somebody just mentioned, that some people not everybody takes the treatment. But that was as far as it resonated with you at that time. And it wasn't until it had metastasized once and then came back for the second time that you really started to investigate. I'd really like to explore that time, because just going through that in itself is huge.
Yeah.
But going through the breakup of a marriage at the same time.
Well, it was actually when it metastasized into my brain, that was when I started my journey, if you like, into looking at alternative treatment and really looking inside. And so that was December 21. And at that point, I remember a really good friend of mine at work said to me, go to this clinic, go and see this person and they will sort you out. And oh my gosh, I feel like I owe her my life, because if it wasn't for doing that, then I don't think we would be here having this conversation. I really don't. And I guess because I'm the kind of person that feels like everybody else knows better than me, and I think that has helped me, because I was quite happy to take the advice, do everything I was told to do, and be here as a healthy person today. And so when I did that, and nobody has ever said to me, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's always been my own decision, if you like. But I remember someone saying, you have to just listen to what your body is telling you. I was like, my body isn't telling me anything. But I think that's because I'm so used to suppressing everything.
Yes.
I wasn't in tune with my body at all. But I think my body was trying to tell me something. So that's why I became ill in the first place, because I obviously wasn't listening to my body. It just thought, okay, I'll give you cancer and then you have to listen. So I got breast cancer and then I wasn't listening still. So then I got brain tumour. I wasn't listening still. Then I had a recurrence. Okay, then I really was listening. So when I started that journey in November 21, I didn't know where I was going to end up. I really didn't. But when I made the decision to leave my ex-husband, and I probably should say at this point, so I've got 2 ex-husbands, which is 2 more than everybody ever plans to have. My first ex-husband, who's the father of my 14, nearly 15-year-old son, he's amazing and has given me so much support, and we're really good friends. And then my second ex-husband, and there are many words I could use to describe him. I think I'll just stick with ex-husband. That's fine. Probably the safest way to describe him. So I didn't realise at that point I was going to end up with, another ex-husband. But that's what I had to do in order to be better. And when I got together with my ex-husband, our relationship was good. And then when I got married to him and we had the twins, and that happened very much, nearly at the same time, that's when things really started to change. And I think now, actually, the marriage stroke having children with him, that was like I was attached to him. I couldn't escape from him. And then things really started to change. And I mean, he's a very controlling, manipulative narcissist. That's the way to describe him. And there are many examples I could give you of his behaviour, and I won't give you all those examples because that's not what this is about. But I could see that pattern of behaviour over the course of our relationship. And I thought that 18-month cycle that we've spoken about, I thought maybe it was every 18 months he did something that caused some kind of stress. But actually it wasn't every 18 months because it was much more frequent than that. It was like all the time. It was like living with that, what I call a silent stress. I didn't really realise it was there. And I've heard this analogy before and I will repeat it. It's like when you put a frog in boiling water, it jumps out. But when you boil the water very slowly and things change very subtly over time, then the frog just boils to death, doesn't he?
Because it doesn't notice.
Exactly. And I think, we were talking earlier about, feeling better and feeling well. And if you could just like have that massive comparison, then you could see. But actually, when it's so gradual, you can't notice. And I had an example actually of, so when my ex-husband and I had split up, but we were still living under the same roof, and we did so for about a year, which was really hard. And somebody came to cut my daughter's hair, one of my twins' hair. And she was like a bit of a family friend. Both my ex-husband and I knew her. And she came in, cut my daughter's hair, and she was having a conversation with my ex-husband. Nothing, there was nothing serious about it. They weren't talking about anything in particular. Nothing really significant about that conversation. But as soon as he started to talk to her, I could feel that pressure coming down on me. It was a very familiar feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get her out of my house because I can't stay here with that conversation happening. And I recognised that feeling. And that's the feeling that I was living with the whole time that we were together. And it felt so uncomfortable. And that's why I know that silent stress was there all the time. And I just didn't notice until I had to notice.
Yeah.
Because I had that, I had to do something about my health.
Yeah, absolutely. And how awful. I bet she wasn't the only person that you felt that stress with. And because, having lived in toxic relationships, I know for a fact as well that silent stress, I think that's a great way of describing it, by the way, happens with so many different circumstances, doesn't it? It's not just a particular person, a particular event. It can just come anytime.
You're right. And actually, if I get that feeling with other people, which occasionally I do, I just have to get out there. I just can't bear to be in that situation anymore, which makes me very hopeful for the future. And, I will be able to move on because now I'm aware of what that feels like and I'm not prepared to be in that situation again. And And having those boundaries, I think, is really important about, just feeling I'm not prepared to be in that situation. Yeah. I just can't be. And when I feel like that, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. I have to remove myself from the situation and remove myself from the company that I'm with.
Yeah, which is really good. It's the start of your feeling journey, isn't it? Your emotional journey. The fact that you've got feelings there, you're acknowledging it, that they have a purpose or a reason, which isn't entirely necessary, but in this case, they very definitely do. And that's wonderful. So we're at the point then in your story where you separated, but you're still in the same place.
Yeah.
You'd had your, recurrence.
Yeah, yeah.
And you met the lady who you said saved your life.
Yes. So so making the decision to leave my ex-husband was huge. Yeah. So I went to this event and I in front of a room full of people that I didn't know, I announced to them I needed to leave my husband. I had no clue this was coming. I kind of knew the relationship wasn't good, but I didn't know that was the day that I was going to make that decision. Mm-hmm. And it's really strange because when I went to this event, I felt very emotional, which I've already said I don't do emotions, but I was tearful when I got there. I literally cried through the whole thing. And the guy that was running the event, he just knew he needed to pick on me to come to the front and tell my story. And he knew when to do it. And I was stood there with a microphone saying, I need to leave my husband. This is what I need to do. And that was the point of making the decision and changing my life, I suppose. And I genuinely think that some of the alternative stuff that I've done has been, mind-blowing and amazing. But I think really for me, it's been the people that I've met along the way, not necessarily the treatment I've had, but the people that have given me that treatment or the people that I've met. So, for example, the lady that took me to this event that I was just talking about, she was actually giving me vitamin C infusions, which I know you do. And it was her that encouraged me to go to this event. And if it wasn't for that, I would never have made that decision. When I was making the decision to leave my ex-husband, I was having some hypnotherapy. And the hypnotherapy, oh my gosh, that was really tricky. I hated it. But the lady doing it, she was amazing. And she really supported me in my decision. There are so many people on this journey that I'm so grateful for. And I know that I wouldn't have got here if it wasn't for their support. Friends that I've just, when I had the radiotherapy on my brain, I couldn't drive for 12 months. And when I had it again, I couldn't drive for another 12 months. And I had friends that were taking my children to school with me every day, coming and getting me to take them to school because my ex-husband had said, it's not my fault you got cancer, get a bike.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think I can thank those people enough. The people that have shown me the way to go in terms of the treatment and the decisions that I needed to make, and the friends and family that have helped me to do it. So friends, when I moved out of my house, which was, where are we now? We're in September. So it was back in December last year. And it all had to be done quite secretively, because I knew that my ex-husband would make it very difficult. At the very best, he would make it difficult. At the very worst, I didn't know what he would have been capable of. But I had friends and family that helped me to move 3 times, not just once, but 3 times.
3 times, of course.
In 6 months. And they just did it. They were just there for me. They're like my angels.
Yeah.
And
the support that you were so desperately needing and not getting out of your relationship with your ex.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had friends that rented me accommodation for something, money that I could afford to do when I was also running a house. And now I've bought a house and I can lay some roots and be settled. It has been a true... I now look back and think, these are my people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so important going forward and a huge part of your healing journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Knowing that you're loved and, cared for is massive in everybody's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's what we all strive for, isn't it? And it comes in many different forms.
Yeah. Just having that network of people around me has been... I didn't realise I needed them, but I did.
Yeah. So are you okay to mention some of the treatment modalities that you did have for people that haven't got a clue what that sort of thing might entail?
Yeah. So I think over the nearly 4 years that I've been going on this journey, I've tried lots of things. And to begin with, I was very much of the opinion, I'll just do anything. Whatever it is you think I should be doing, I will do it. And I threw everything at it because I needed to at that point. I just didn't have a clue what I was doing. I feel like I can be a bit more selective now because I have that, the opportunity to choose and a bit more knowledge about what works for me and what doesn't. So I would say the things that I found really helpful, so slowing down, and by doing yoga, meditation, sound baths, gives me that opportunity to slow down and get in tune with my body. Because listening to that tiny voice, that is the one biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody. Your body is here to look after you. Your body is here to help you and keep you safe. And unless you can listen to it and tune into it, then you can't hear that tiny voice. And for many years, I was so busy and tuning everything out and not even realising, and it took being very ill for me to realise that my body was just trying to tell me something.
It was screaming at you, basically.
Exactly. And I wasn't listening. So doing things that help me to tune in is the thing that has been the most helpful, I think.
Yeah. Do you think everything else was built on that, all the other treatments that maybe you got at the clinic?
I think it was, yes, because ultimately, unless you're listening to what is inside, it probably doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't know, maybe it does, but for me, no. I don't think, I think you kind of intuitively know. And there's been some treatments that I've done because, at the beginning, I didn't know what was right and what was wrong for me. And I would just do everything. But since then, there's been some treatments I've thought, do you know what? That just doesn't feel like that's going to help me. So I'm not going to do that, but I am going to do this. And I try every day to do something like meditation, breathing, yoga. I try and do something every day, exercise, that just grounds me and brings me back to myself, and helps me have that space and time to listen to my body. Because when I got the breast cancer and the 2 recurrences of the brain tumour, it was my body telling me. So I felt a lump under my armpit when I was first diagnosed, and I was just feeling under my armpit watching the telly. I mean, I don't normally do that.
No.
That's quite unusual to like have your hand under your armpit. But it's like my body was trying to tell me there's something there, you need to do something about it. When I had the brain tumour and the recurrence, it was my body telling me I had symptoms that unless I was really noticing them, I wouldn't have gone to the doctors and said, do you know what, there's something not quite right here, which gives me so much, I'm going to say hope, but that's not quite the right word, but it gives me so much hope for the future, because I now know if I get those symptoms again, it's my body's way of telling me something is not right. I don't need that treatment. I don't need to have those scans, because I know my body will tell me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking after myself. So my body shouldn't have to tell me, because if I continue to listen to it and listen to that tiny voice and do the things that my body needs me to do, then I know that things are going to be okay.
Yeah. So how did the holistic clinic help you? What did it add?
Oh my gosh. So it helped me by just, I guess, helping me to realise that there's more to this than just the conventional treatment, the NHS treatment. And don't get me wrong, I think there is a place for both. So, for example, my eldest son broke his arm last year. He broke his arm, we got it fixed. The NHS was amazing. He had some plates in his arm. So I think for treatment like that, for acute symptoms, the NHS is just amazing.
Yeah.
But for chronic disease, you have to look at the root cause. And it's the clinic that was helping me to understand all the treatment that I've had that's dealt with the symptoms, but it's not dealing with the root cause. And all the changes that I've made in my life have dealt with the root cause. And it was a clinic that was, I guess, teaching me that the answers are within. And I guess, I do lots of treatment like clearing the chakras and all sorts of stuff that actually I don't even understand some of the things that I do. But I know that I feel better afterwards and calmer. And I know that my health is in a much better place now than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. And I feel so much more attuned. And I know that it's that journey. It's that if it wasn't for the clinic that's helped me, I wouldn't be here.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Mm.
Were supplements or herbs ever part of your journey?
Yeah, and they still are. They really are. So I take quite a few supplements, and I found so some of them I just, I don't know. I'm sure they're doing something, but I can't feel anything. But some of them, oh my gosh. So I take a magnesium supplement to help me sleep. And I ran out a couple of weeks ago, on holiday. So I didn't take any for a couple of weeks whilst I was away, and then ordered some more. And then instantly, after I took it, my sleep improved. It's just dramatic. I've been doing some work and supplements for my cognitive ability, I guess. And I'd like to think, in fact, I know that things are much better now than they were after I had the treatment, because I feel like I'm still not the same, but that's okay. But I do know that I'm better than I was. I'm having this conversation with you, which makes me better, because normally, I used to have to almost like rehearse every conversation that I had.
Exhausting.
Yeah, really exhausting. I don't feel like that now. I feel like sometimes I need to prepare for stuff, but I don't feel like I need to have it, practiced so much before I have a conversation with people. It's at one point I was like, if people spoke to me, it would take me a bit of time to think, I don't even know how to respond. And that would just make me feel uncomfortable.
Of course.
And probably make them feel like they'd be thinking, why isn't she speaking? But that split second, they may not have even noticed, but that split second made me feel like I don't even want to engage with people, because actually I don't feel like I can, I don't feel like I can do it. But I don't feel like that now, which is that connection. And that connection is so much more important than the physical connection, I guess. The right side symptoms that I have, I can deal with them because it's just me that has to deal with them. I can deal with my handwriting being really untidy and the typing being harder. But the actual connection with people is really important. And I didn't realise that until I've spoken about that support network that I have, and being so grateful for people and being able to connect with people is so important. And so I can see why people that don't have those connections can really struggle. Because there are some people that don't speak with people, and they let their anxiety just get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And
I think that
be a
particular
problem.
thing was massive in COVID, where people were isolated.
Yeah.
The loneliness, and for people that were living on their own anyway, and living perhaps quite a solitary life anyway.
Yeah.
To have that compounded.
Yeah.
Not necessarily those, even those that were living quite a social life and couldn't, but they tended to be the people who would have parties on Zoom, and because they were more social in the first place. I'm not saying they didn't struggle, but yeah, we are not meant to be an island, are we?
No, it's strange. And I think at the beginning of this conversation, I said about going, having the treatment on my own, and how that was okay because I was quite a, insular kind of person. But actually, it's not okay. Mm-hmm. I need people, and it's taken this journey and actually this conversation to help me realise that. So thank you.
Oh, my goodness gracious me. If I've helped you in any way.
You really have.
I'm humbled by that. I'm grateful to you. Thank you. It's been fabulous, and I'm absolutely sure that your journey is going to touch many, many people and can provide help in any of the things that you've talked about, because there's so much in this story. It's so rich.
I hope so. I would love if people can just recognise that there is more to it, and recognise that your emotional health is so linked to your physical health. And I didn't realise that, but now I do.
Fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.